David!
Yes.
Have you ever noticed that the way we use our phones is ironic?
Phones are for connection, but we look at them more than we look at each other. That's ironic, Griffin.
It's like rain on your wedding day. Listen, that's ironic. So US Cellular created Us Mode to help us reconnect, you and I.
That's right.
A phone company wanting people to use their phones less? Ironic.
A phone company wanting people to use their phones less? Ironic. But let's find us again with Us Mode from US Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started.
What are the other things that are ironic?
There was not too much drama. They just basically tanked. They sagged for Flagg. They poopered for Cooper. Sup, nerds? It's basketball. Welcome to Horse, a basketball podcast about everything except for the wins and losses. My name is Mike Schubert, and I'm joined by my trusted co-host, the Zoran Namdani winning the Democratic primary so good, to Andrew Cuomo being embarrassed so much that he conceded on the first day and isn't going to run in November in the general, at least according to inside sources. It's Adam Amawala. Adam, how's it going?
Boy, bye.
Well, I know this is not basketball, but honestly, it feel like Knicks not winning a championship. This is a great consolation prize, and arguably is more important for the city of New York. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if this means that this is the last time we see Cuomo running for something, that would be great because he just has been around forever.
And much like the NBA, a new young guard is in the mix. Hey, perfect transition, because the Thunder won the finals and they are very young. They are, I believe, the second youngest team since the 50s to win a championship. I think only the 77 or 78 something Blazers were the only other younger team than them. They are very good. They are very young. They are set up for the future. They won the finals. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about trades that happened before the draft. We'll talk about the draft. And then, speaking of drafts, we're going to do a reassessment of our drama draft that we did at the beginning of the year for the NBA. But before we do all of this, we got to go to a place that is drama free. And that's the Teal Memorial Locker Room. Just good, chill vibes all around.
Yeah, maybe even covered in champagne if somebody won a championship in there.
Ooh, that would be nice. Yes, that would be nice. I do wonder. I was thinking this because the Thunder is so young. Do you think they had bottles of sparkling cider in there, just to save face? They had one bottle and they were legally,
well,
this is for.
How many people do they have who are under 21? Do they have people?
They have a couple of rookies on the team that I would assume.
Chet is probably 20, 21.
Yeah. I think he's over because he missed that whole year.
Yeah.
So let's see. Thunder roster. And then does it have the age? Let's see. It does. They've got Nikola Topic, not to be confused with Nikola Jokic. That is a real person. He was a high draft pick, but he was injured. So he missed the entire year. And it's one of those classic things where no one wanted to draft the guy who was definitely going to miss the entire first year, except the Thunder, who were sure, yeah, he's supposed to be really good. He played in Europe and was quite a good player. So he'll be on their team next year. So, the champions get better.
Without having to do anything.
Exactly. He's 19. And then Cason Wallace is 21. So yeah, it would just be, that would be great. They have one bottle.
He's just drinking Welch's.
Yep. He's got that Welch's.
The Martinelli.
And it's got a little, it's got a little post-it note on it. Like he's a coworker trying to not have someone steal his lunch. Really Nikola Jokic. Or Nikola Topic.
And there's Nikola Jovic. So, what are we going to do about that?
I think eventually what we could do, they're saying for the All-Star game, they're going to do USA versus the world this coming time. They could just do all of the Jovic, Topic, it could be itches. Honestly, you could have Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Nikola Jovic, and then Nikola Topic. Yeah, let's just do an itch team.
I like an itch team.
And it can be sponsored by one of those anti-itch creams, A&D ointment or whatever.
There you go, yeah. For athletes.
Anyway.
Gold Bond medicated lotion.
Oh, wow. Wow.
What a deep cut that is.
Naturally, this is a basketball podcast. You know who doesn't have athlete's foot?
I would assume our patrons. We're not positive, and we don't want to break any HIPAA violations. So if you tell us in confidence that you do have athlete's foot, we will not share it on this podcast. Let that be known.
We won't let it be known, but we do want to let it be known that we appreciate you, and we appreciate all of you, especially our highest level patrons at the triple bang tier, our producer level patrons, Polly Burridge, Salvatore Testa, Siobhan Ellsbury, Duncan Chasing, Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, Denver Steam Nuggets, and Reed Steph Curry for his first 3.
Yes, that is a reference to the fact that the jersey he was wearing during the game in which he hit his first 3 was just auctioned off for a cool $1.76 million.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Chase Underulo, Naked Rachel, Sidney Crosby as a vampire, Chelsea's cousin, Ginger Spurs boy, Balls to the Balls, Mats Furley, and Utah Jash. And you know who else? I'm pretty sure these 2 folks don't have athlete's foot. It's a new sponsor. So I've already given it away. It's new sponsors.
Yep.
So we have new sponsors, an unconventional sort of sponsor here. Recently, I was a guest on the Tipping Pitches podcast. You might remember the boys from Tipping Pitches. They guested on Horse a couple of times, once for the CBA episode, once for the A-Rod / Mark Lore, who are now like officially legally 100%. They got approval from the board of governors in the NBA, officially the owners of the Timberwolves. Mm-hmm. I was on their podcast for a Patreon exclusive episode. So if you like our baseball references and you're like, gosh, I wish I had an hour and 45 minutes of these, well, you can check out the link in the description and you can get 1 month free of the Tipping Pitches Patreon, where you can get access to that and more. And that is who is our presenting sponsor for this episode. So thanks, Tipping Pitches.
I'm going to call that our first baseball reference. I think it kind of is.
Yeah, we've done it. Ding, ding, ding.
Because it's funny enough, when you mentioned the thing about are there any underage people, the first thing I thought of was the Bryce Harper thing, which I'm sure you've seen, which was Bryce Harper came into the league when he was 18 or 19, and he played, the Nationals played, I think, against the Blue Jays. And some reporter asked him after the game, like, oh, the drinking age is like 18 here. Are you going to drink after the game? And his response was, quote, "That's a clown question, bro." He wasn't playing around.
I'm still angry that the Yankees did not get him in that year where he wanted to join the Yankees.
Well, I think of that as the year that he wanted to join the Cubs. He has a dog named Wrigley. I mean, he's friends with Chris Bryant. They grew up together in Las Vegas. It was all right there.
Both of our teams fumbled the bag. But anyway, now, unless you are listening on Patreon, where you get access to episodes that do not have inserted ads, you'll hear some inserted ads now. But once those are complete, we'll get back into this episode of Horse. All right, Adam, what do you got going on?
Not a whole lot. I haven't added any new tour dates, so this is kind of a slower part of the year for me. But as you are listening to this, the next road dates that I have will be in Chicago the weekend of July 17th through 19th. I'll be doing some Don't Tell comedy shows and some other stuff around town. All of that is on my website. After that, I will be in Jamestown, New York, the weekend of August 8th and 9th for the Lucille Ball Comedy Festival at the National Comedy Center in Jamestown, New York. It's the middle of nowhere, but it's really cool. And if you're a comedy fan, you know, if you're in like the Buffalo, Rochester area, that sort of thing, you can come check that out. And then I will be in Connecticut in September, as well as Bethlehem, PA. And then Denver is January, so there's a while on that one. But I'll be adding other stuff as I go, but for the moment, not a whole lot of new stuff to share. What about you?
Well, I am recording this one from Utah. By the time you all are hearing this, the Utah shows that I'm doing have been complete, but thank you to the folks who came either to the improv show I'm doing or to the TNO show that we did. But I've also got stuff coming up in August. I'll be in St. Louis for a TNO show on the 14th of August, and then I'll be there for Enchanticon, where I'm doing stuff for Potterless and TNO, at least on Saturday and Sunday. Then I'll be in Kansas City, Missouri on August 18th, and then I'll be in Providence, Rhode Island on September 13th, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on September 28th. And I'm trying to get that show live streamed, but I don't have it complete yet. But you can see all the places I'm going to at schub.es/tour. And thank you to all of those. I guess the only other thing is I believe, or by the time you're hearing this, I will have a new podcast dropping in July with my friend Sequoia. We are making a show called Professional Talkers, where because we are both professional podcasters, we've had lots of awkward conversations or just conversations with awkward moments that have been broadcast to millions of people online. So since we've gone through the gauntlet of awkwardness, we can help you avoid awkward conversations from things that are lower stakes, like small talk at a party where the only person you know is the host, or things that have a higher chance of yikes, like telling your roommate they need to to be a little less messy. So that should release on, let me get the data.
I'll be honest with you. Based on this pitch, I feel like this is kind of like the podcast version of the rehearsal. You're going to help people prepare themselves for big moments in life. And small moments in life.
We're here to help. So that should be releasing on Monday, July 14th. So if you're listening to this before then, you can go to patreon.com/professional talkers, where we'll be posting updates about things coming out. It's set up to be a free Patreon until the show's out there. The trailer should be up. So if you search for Professional Talkers on whatever podcasting app you're listening to, you can listen to it there. You can subscribe there. So when episodes start dropping, you can drop. And not 100% confirmed yet, but the plan is to have a post-podcast premiere picnic party.
So many
because we love alliteration. I know. We're going to have a little thing in Central Park on July 20th, which is a Sunday, which is just like, hey, come through, chit-chat, small talk, get free stickers, stuff like that.
Free talking.
Free talking, but that's all coming up. If you want to make sure you don't miss stuff, follow me on Instagram at Shube17 with the C, SCHUBES17, and I'll be sure to be posting all about that.
Very cool.
Yeah,
July
that's what
14th.
I've got going on.
Bastille
July
Day,
14th.
I think.
Yeah, That's why we did it. That's exactly why we did it. All right. Well, do we have an NB Q&A this week?
We did not have one, so we should source some more for future episodes. So if you are hearing this and you do have any questions about anything, NBA, WNBA, playoffs, draft, whatever, send us anything that you're thinking about, and we will read it on a future episode. But for now, let's get into full court press. Get it like the news.
Yes. Let's start with the first biggest piece of news. The NBA Finals are complete. They did go to the full 7, which was unexpected, but very fun.
We manifested it multiple times.
Made it happen.
Yeah.
You can listen to our breakdowns of every single game over on Patreon if you join any of the tiers, where we would talk for like 15, 20 minutes about the stuff. So that's if you want more in-depth things, but at least from like drama storyline perspective, it was unfortunate the way it kind of fizzled out, because in Game 7, Tyrese Halliburton had an Achilles injury almost like basically like halfway through the first quarter.
Yeah.
And it just really deflated the whole game. Even though there was some good basketball to be played, there was just this lingering dread and looming feeling of, the what ifs were all abound. And it was sad because the Pacers had such a fun run. You don't want it to end like that. You would rather them go out at full capacity.
Yeah, and we talked about this on the Patreon recap, but like there's a pretty good case to be made for the fact that the Thunder would have still won that game anyway. But given Halliburton's exploits and, clutch plays throughout the entire playoffs, it just felt like as basketball fans, we were all robbed of like seeing what that Game 7 could have been. So, maybe the Thunder win by the exact same amount. Maybe they win by more. Halliburton has a bad game, whatever. But also he hit threes pretty much in a row. And then I think on like the next play, tore his Achilles the exact same way that it happened with Jason Tatum, the exact same way that it happened with Dame Lillard. A lot of people have talked about how all 3 players are wearing the number 0 as if that means anything. It doesn't. But there have been a lot of Achilles injuries this year. Some people have speculated it's like, oh, is it because of the shoes? People used to wear high top shoes, which then made knee injuries more likely, but perhaps now people's lower legs are more exposed. I think really what it comes down to is A, sometimes they're just things that are statistically improbable that happen, and B, these guys are playing at such a high level and so explosively that I think there's just always going to be more injuries in modern sports because of how hard they push themselves. And for Halliburton, this is a Game 7 at the end of a 2.5-month playoff run that has been very intense and very grueling after a full season. The real solution, which we talked about before, is like shorten the regular season, but they just don't want to lose the revenue. So it's what it is.
Yeah. Now, sad stuff about it aside, there was a cool sentimental thing where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did console Tyrese Halliburton both on the court after the injury and then in the locker room area after the game. So that was nice of him to do that. Halliburton, champ that he is, was on crutches in the tunnel as the Pacers were leaving the court after losing, high-fiving all of his dudes, consoling a TJ McConnell who was in tears because he truly left it all on the court. There were some fun, wholesome moments leading throughout the playoffs where TJ McConnell's parents were getting either interviewed or crashing post-game things, or his mom told the cameras to stop filming her son crying. The McConnell family came out big winners here It was very wholesome
Yeah.
seeing them around. And then the Thunder had their big championship parade, and it had some strange moments where, like, I don't know if you saw the clip where some of the fans were like behind chain link fences. Like they normally just have like little barricades, but they were behind like straight up chain link fences. And I was very confused.
Feels excessive.
Yeah, someone online was like, this is probably from existing construction that was already there. And I was like, I hope so. Otherwise, this would be weird.
Right. My big takeaway from watching clips of the parade was I hope that Alex Caruso put on sunscreen.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it did look very open and sunny. This is something I don't realize, and I'm realizing it now because I'm in Utah. When you're not in New York City, like New York City has a good amount of tall buildings, obviously, and then a lot of like trees on the street. There's a lot of shade when you're being a pedestrian. When you're just like walking out in these more mountain region, mountain westish part of America, like Utah, where I'm at, and OKC, like I feel like you got to get a big, wide brimmed hat.
You do.
It's just so sunny and there's like nothing to do except for like pray that you walk down a street with trees.
But yeah, Caruso between his bald white head and his shoulders, I was like, man, I hope you got some SPF going on there.
He was wearing a shirt that was Mount Rushmore with him on it 4 times. Which
that's
pretty cool.
That's pretty bold.
Yeah. Much better than the real Mount Rushmore.
Sure. Now, I do have a question for you because there was some other drama that resulted from the speeches that the players were giving on the court. So I'm going to give you this is just a question that has 2 options. Okay. You have a child. As someone who has a child, has held children. All right. When you hold a baby that is sleeping, do you A, support its head so that it can sleep comfortably, or B, let its head flop around as if you are holding a teddy bear?
I would say you support the head.
Yes, I would agree with you.
I'm going to first look up, when did they have their baby?
We are speaking of Isaiah Hartenstein. I still don't know if it's Stein or Steen. I've said it both ways.
I think it's
times.
Stein. I think it's Hartenstein. You kind of the S. I think it's Hartenstein. But Isaiah Hartenstein, it looks like he had his kid, him and his girlfriend, now wife. I don't know if they're married at the time, but at least wife. Now had the kid July 9th, 2024. So the kid is like just under a year old. So if you didn't see this video, we'll put a link to it at the episode page of horsehoops.com. But basically, he was holding the kid just with his arm. Isaiah had his arm like around the kid's like chest, and the kid was fast asleep, very cute, but he was not supporting his head at all. So if the kid's like about a year old, it's not like as crucial as when they are much younger and you like really need to support the head. At that age, like it's probably okay. Like it's kind of like they're old enough there where if they are in an uncomfortable position, they will usually reposition themselves into a composition. That's kind of the age where like you can safely put your kid down on like the crib mattress. Like they can be face down and you don't have to worry about it. Whereas like early on, it's like you got to put them on their back. They can't, if they roll over, it's a whole big deal. So it's not as much of a concern, but you should still be supporting the neck. Like it's so easy. I think even if it's not like a major health concern for a kid of that age, it is like the thing that you learn on the first day of parenting.
He just looked like someone who had never held a baby before.
That's the thing. Yeah. And I don't know if his wife moved with him to OKC because they lived in New York. They got an apartment. Like she might have stayed. She's like a model. So I wouldn't be surprised if like staying in New York was beneficial for her career. I hope that's the answer. It's just like Isaiah, because he's been so busy with the year and the playoffs and all that. But if they had the kid in July, then he would have had a whole offseason. I just think this guy doesn't take care of his kid much.
It's possible.
I get it. You're a millionaire athlete. You've like, she might be doing it. They certainly probably almost definitely have a nanny or potentially more than one. Like they've got childcare. They've got the money for it.
But what was funny about the clip was that there was someone's hands. I don't know who's like out of frame. Do you know whose that was?
I don't know whose hands out of frame came in, but someone tried to do out of frame to show him like, yo, support
and then
the head.
SGA was like demonstrating with his hand, like, dude, you gotta, like, you could totally read his face, and the subtext was like, dude, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, support this kid's head. And then he almost like rolled his eyes like in disappointment as like, what is wrong with this man?
There was a report from a journalist following the team saying something of like, people kept yelling at him. I'm sure it was like jovial yelling, but like multiple people kept yelling at him, like, support the head, and like SGA was visibly upset. Yeah, he at least has one kid in it, and SGA had a really sweet quote about saying that like his child changed his perspective on, you know, his outlook of life and how he approaches it. And like, that's legit. Like, it really does kind of really reprioritize a lot of things in your life. And it makes you respect your parents so much more because it's so like, this kid would be screwed without us. Like, this kid couldn't do anything. Like, she can't prepare her own food. Like, she doesn't know anything. So I think SGA saying that is really sweet. And I think it's hilarious that he was trying to correct Isaiah Hartenstein. And then Isaiah did post a video the next day of the kid being like awake and very excited to learn when he woke up that it was
almost like proof, title. Like a hostage video. Like, he's fine.
He's alive.
Yes, he's alive.
Look how good his neck is. It's not crooked.
But yeah, so overall, I would say a very good finals. One that people going into it were like, oh, no one's going to watch this. No one cares. But I think, you know, I don't know what the ratings were like. I'm sure they weren't the same as it would be in a year where it was Warriors Celtics or, you know, whoever it's been recently. But as a basketball fan, I thought it was very enjoyable. Halliburton came out the next day and posted a long thing on Instagram just about like how disappointed he was, but how, you know, it was his choice to make. He knew what the risks were going into it. If he had to make that decision again, even knowing the outcome, he would, you know, make it many times over just to have that opportunity to play in a Game 7. So it was tough to watch. I mean, any injury is tough to watch, but you know that for someone like that, his entire life led up to that moment. And the second he got hurt, he's like pounding on the floor, being like, no. Like he knew he was done immediately. So tough one for sure. Congrats to the Thunder. They certainly deserved it. And, you know, they are certainly the team to beat. I can't think of anybody else who anyone would rank above them moving forward. But the Knicks,
but I'm delusional.
Sure. Now, we have a couple other things to discuss. One is the NBA draft first round, which took place last night as we were recording this. The second round will be later today. So we don't have any, you know, Bronny James sort of stuff, but there might be some interesting things going on. But yeah, I guess let's start there. Did anything jump out at you? Obviously, the Mavs selected Cooper Flagg. It would have been hilarious if they hadn't. I also did not realize that Rutgers was good enough that they had two players who were like top 10 draft picks.
Well, that was the weird thing, is that the team wasn't very good, but they had two good players. So this rumbling beforehand was like, well, they didn't do very well in the tournament.
Sure.
Are these two guys actually good? And I believe they are. There wasn't like too much, like I wasn't super plugged into it, but the one dramatic thing that did happen that is quite notable is that one of the Rutgers guys, Ace Bailey, he had famously not gone to a lot of the workouts. So a normal thing for the NBA draft is that teams will have a player come in and they will do usually private workouts. Sometimes they'll do smaller ones with like a couple of players if they're a little lower down the list, and they'll work out for the coaching staff so they can look at like, you know, what does this guy look like on the court, shot, how quick is he, dribbling, passing, all this kind of stuff. And there have been times where players do not work out for teams because they don't want to be selected by that team. Famously, Steph Curry did not work out for the Warriors because he wanted the Knicks to draft him. But we would have screwed his career. There's no way Steph Curry is Steph Curry. Like at that point in time, we were a terrible organization. Now, what Ace Bailey was doing was not working out for a lot of the teams that had higher picks because it seemed like he wanted to go to a team where he would be the guy, like a team that did not have some sort of point guard, because he's a guard, like some sort of lead guard that he would have to be playing behind. So the rumblings are that he was basically trying to force his way to either Brooklyn or to Washington to be on the Nets or the Wizards. And it was a weird thing because he was like originally touted as like the third best guy in the draft initially. And then, you know, some other things like the Sixers ended up taking VJ Edgecombe, who a lot of people were like, no, he is actually better. So it seemed like this guy should be a top 5 pick, but he didn't want to go to the certain teams at the top either because they have players he might play behind, or they're the Utah Jazz and he didn't want to go to Utah. But the Utah Jazz did draft him. They do have like the opening spot where he could be the lead guard, but I don't know that he wants to live and play in Utah. I record this from Utah. I don't know. It's pretty nice. But it was a very shocking thing. And it was especially shocking just because he kind of made it clear that he was trying to go to specific teams. Now, afterwards, quote-wise, he seemed excited about it, seemed happy, whatever. Is he saving face? Does he actually care? I don't know. But he was also
Right.
surprised because he didn't think the Jazz were going to take him. But the Jazz were like, look, we had him available. We think he's the best player. We're going to figure it out.
That's just we're taking the best player on the board, regardless of whether or not they worked out for us, sort of thing.
Yep.
The Bulls selected some very young French guy who our buddy Chris Chan told me is known for flopping so much that he's been like, he makes Harden look like he doesn't flop. Like, I think that was the quote.
Whoa.
So interesting. And he also seems, I don't want to say like a project, but kind of in the same way as Matas Buzelis, like a guy who's got high upside, but isn't going to be an impact for a few years. So, great. Just another few years of complete irrelevance for me to look forward to. I think I am ready to commit to not having NBA League Pass for the Bulls this coming year. I think that's at least a boundary that I can set to be like, I'll follow the scores, I'll watch the highlights, but like, I can't give money to these people.
Ooh, you should find like a new hobby to take the time, or like a new sport to watch that comes on around the same time. Like you could get really into, I don't know, like the NWSL or competitive darts or something. I don't know, man.
Well, the truth is I will cave and I will just watch the Bulls. So I just wanted to say that so that I could hear that it was possible for me to say it, but I don't really believe myself.
The only other shocker is that there was a player, I forget his name, so let me pull it up. But there was a guy, the big like, whoa moment was there was a player from China who got drafted in the 16th spot, and on the boards he was like a second round guy, Hansen Yang, and he got drafted 16th overall by the Grizzlies. But I think was he then traded afterwards, or did the Grizzlies like do the trade in order to get him?
I think he landed in Memphis. I'm not sure what the arrangement was.
But he ended up going 16. And the big thing is that his agent is Rich Paul. Like he already has an agent because he's like a professional player internationally and did pretty well. Like he won Defensive Player of the Year. Okay, so it was technically the Memphis pick, but then he got rerouted to the Blazers. And the Blazers traded some stuff, which is also interesting because the Blazers like already have a bunch of centers on their team. But the reporting is that the Blazers are like, we are all in on taking the best guy available. Who cares? So they're just trying to figure it out. But yeah, there's a lot of speculation of like, this is such a shocking pick. Like, does the Rich Paul angle have something to do with it? Or is it just a coincidence? Like, is this really a diamond in the rough? Or is this going to be like an all-time weird move? So there's some stuff we'll just kind of have to see. I think this draft is very much like there's the tiers of like, there's Cooper Flagg, there's like the other guys at the top. And then like once you're past like pick 5, it was just like shrug emoji. And it's a lot of people, like you were saying, that are long-term projects. There were a lot of like teams making trades because they like wanted specific people. So it was like some trades, like the Pelicans traded away their next year's pick unprotected so that they could move up. And people are thinking that's a weird move. So there just seemed to be a lot of like, we want this guy, which if it works out is awesome. And then if it doesn't work out, it's like the thing when, people trade multiple picks so that they can move up and get Doug McDermott, or like when the Celtics almost traded 4 first-round picks to get Justice Winslow. Like these moves can either look genius, like taking Jason Tatum instead of Markelle Fultz, or idiotic. So I don't know.
But what precipitated the draft was a flurry of trades, the most notably being Kevin Durant. So that happened last week. Kevin Durant has been traded to the Rockets in exchange for, Jalen Green,
Dylan Brooks, and
then some picks, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I like it. I like it for the Rockets.
Yes. I like it as they didn't really have to give up that much. Like Jalen Green, you don't really need him / want him on the team anymore. Dylan Brooks is fine, but you're not going to miss him. And then Kevin Durant is good. The only concern is that like Kevin Durant's 37 years old. He might get hurt. And then a lot of the other guys in the Rockets are younger. So they have this like weird mix where like Fred VanVleet just like signed a 2-year extension with them. They have like a wide range of ages on the team. But I think it's good. Like it's good for a team to get playoff experience and go far. They were clearly missing a piece when they lost to the Warriors this year. And if you can get Kevin Durant and you don't have to give up that much to get him, you do it.
And listen, I mean, obviously he's 37. He's played since he was 19 or whatever, but we're talking less than a year removed from him absolutely dominating in the Olympics. Like, the guy can still play when he's healthy. It's not like he's a shell of himself in that way. So I think if they can figure out how to best utilize him, the Rockets are already a team that the big knock on them was like, oh, they were the second ranked team in the West, but nobody really believed in them the same way that the Cavs were the number one team in the East. And people were like, yeah, but like they haven't really proven anything. So I think just his experience, his championship pedigree, how long he's been in the league is certainly going to help. And then there were some other very interesting moves, particularly for the Celtics, who acquired Anthony Simons from the Blazers, and then they traded Kristaps Porzingis to, where did he end up?
Well, they did, that trade was Drew Holiday to the Blazers and for Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks. This is now the second time that Drew Holiday has been traded to the Blazers as a salary dump / like roster move. So the Bucks traded him away to get Dame, and then he got rerouted to the Celtics because he didn't want to play for the Blazers. And then now the Celtics have traded him away to the Blazers. And again, he does want to play for them because like they're in like rebuild mode, and he is, getting towards the end of his career. He's still a good player, but he's on like an expensive contract. It was one of those, like, you have to just give him this contract and eat it if you're the Celtics. And now, since they're not going to be good next year with Tatum being out, or they'll be good, just not like true contenders. They wanted to get, out of the tax situation. So I feel like he'll end up on another team. I don't know which team will make the follow-up trade. The Blazers have said like they want him there for his veteran presence, but then the reporting is that he doesn't want to be there. So like, do they actually mean it? Are they just saying that so teams offer more? Will it be a thing where he plays there for like the first half of the season and then they trade him at the deadline? Who knows?
Right.
But
yeah.
That
and then
happened.
Porzingis got traded where?
Yes, Porzingis is now on the Hawks, and I don't know exactly what like went back, but it was, I think like it was like a 3-team trade. There were some picks going around. The Nets were involved. George Niang got moved as part of it. Like, it's just another like Celtics trying to salary dump KP because they're trying to get under the tax. So I don't know. The Celtics are making some moves. It felt like they were able to do these moves and not like, people were wondering like, oh, these are bad contracts, would people actually want them? And they didn't seem to be like as hurt in doing it. Like the Anthony Simons and 2 picks thing is kind of weird. Like, I feel like the Blazers probably could have gotten more out of it unless they're like very confident that they can get something good for Drew for another team. But I don't know that they can, because the whole thing was like, when the Celtics had to trade him, it was like, oh, who's going to want to take that contract? So like, why would the Blazers willingly take that burden upon themselves?
Right. Because it's not like the Celtics ate some of that contract. I think the Blazers took all of it on.
Right. They have to based on the new rules. Like, you just kind of with aprons and stuff, you just got to do it. So yeah.
And then we touched on this briefly in one of our Patreon recordings, but one of the first like big splashes of the offseason was that the Magic traded for Desmond Bane from the Grizzlies. So that was kind of a big one as well.
I love that trade for them. And it's something that is only aging better now that Tyrese Halliburton got hurt. And we also did this on our Patreon thing of like, no one, especially me as a Knicks fan, no one's like celebrating that Tyrese Halliburton got hurt, but it is like an objective truth that now one of the top teams in the East, similar to the Celtics being like out of contention for a year, is most likely out of contention.
Losing Dame.
Yes. Yeah. So you've got like 3 top tier teams in the East that are kind of like on a 1-year vacation from contention, at least on paper. So if you're another top team in the East, notably the Knicks and the Magic, and I guess the Sixers, you like, this is the
Cavs.
year. And the Cavs, yes, of course. Like, this is the year. Like, you got to do it. So the Magic made this trade before the Halliburton injury, and it's one of those. It's similar to the Mikal Bridges Knicks trade, where like they gave up like 5 picks and stuff to make it happen. Is that a slight overpay for Desmond Bane? Probably. Is he a perfect fit for them? Yes. So like,
yeah, same as Bridges. It's like, if it works out, you don't care about the picks.
Exactly. So I think that it's a great move for them. He's a very good shooter. Their offense famously was their weak point, and I think that he will be a bright spot for them in their new uniforms and new logos, which is like so close to being good, but isn't. I don't know if you saw, like, I think their new logo is pretty cool. It pays homage to their old logo. And the new jerseys are like so close to being awesome. They just picked a weird font. Like, the font makes it look like a Kmart knockoff.
Yeah.
Everything else is cool.
I haven't seen it.
It's like, because they've gone with like more of the old school things with like the black and the pinstripes and the blue. And then they have this like alternate jersey, which is like very modern, where it's like got a diagonal line going through it with the blue and the black. And it's like a fun like mix of retro and modern. But the font that they went with, just like, I don't know, it just looks cheap. It's one of those like uncanny valley things where like it's not retro enough to be retro, it's not modern enough to be modern, so it looks like you were trying to be cool but you didn't want to buy a font, so you just used like the coolest default one from Google Slides. Like, it's not great. It's so close to being good, and maybe they'll look better on the actual court and stuff, but from what I've seen with like even some of the social media promos of those dudes wearing them, I don't think it looks good. It's tough. It's tough.
Now, before we move on to the main part of this episode, which is going to be us reanalyzing and relitigating our NBA drama draft from before the season began, any WNBA thoughts? Because I feel like the big story of the past couple of weeks was the Fever Sun fracas, if you will, which was really fun. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that something is fun if there's like almost a brawl on the court, but I mean, it got real spicy. So you can fill in the blanks on some of these player names because I don't necessarily know them, but basically what happened is like Fever were already up by a good amount. They're a better team than the Sun. The Sun are not good this year. And Caitlin Clark got like jabbed in the eye at the top of the key. She's reacting to it, like holding her face. There's a little bit of a shove between her and the player who jabbed her. And then someone else comes in and like pushes her to the ground. I don't know if you know who all the people were who were involved, but like it escalated pretty quickly.
The thing that I did see, it was the play that happened afterwards, like the Sophie Cunningham hard foul.
Yeah.
That's the one that I saw. And she is already someone like, she used to be in the Mercury. She's kind of a trash talker. She also has a bad reputation. She's like a MAGA supporter and people don't like her. So I'm not surprised that people don't like it. Like that was like a hard bad foul, and that started like the proper fight, which like it looked like a true basketball brawl, a basket brawl. Like the refs and the assistant coaches were trying to stop people, and like this was the Fever were up 17 points with 46 seconds left, and so this is clearly just like thing that did not need to happen. So that was the thing that I had more seen. I'll try to see the other one, but I did like...
Well, and then Caitlin Clark hit a step back three in the face of the person who had jabbed her in the eye and like screamed at her all the way down court, and it was awesome.
Yeah, so JC Shelson and Marina Mabry were the two that had fouled. So you basically have JC Sheldon hitting her in the eye, and then the push-off, like the initial push-off from it basically seemed like JC like bumped into Caitlin, and Caitlin was like, what the heck? Like Caitlin Clark did definitely like kind of like push her away. But I totally understand this of like, I'm the one that's in pain. I should not be the one getting like trash talked to immediately afterwards. Right. And then Marina Mabry came in and like in a bit of a cheap shot, like completely blindsided her and just like chest bumped her.
Yeah, because she's like, her eyes are closed basically because she's injured, and then she just gets like shoved onto the ground for no reason.
Right. Her eyes are closed, her head is turned. Like it was super unnecessary. Marina Mabry is also like a big trash talker and a hothead at times, so I'm not surprised. What's wild though is that Caitlin Clark got a tech, which is very strange. I guess like the push off, sure, but like she was not the instigator by any means. So I don't know. And then like
there was also
Tina
a clip
Charles
from that
was chirping. Like it was very intense.
Who's the person who poked her in the eye?
That was JC Shelson.
So I think it was a clip of the two of them, and I don't know where this happened in the game, but you could like read their lips, and Shelson was saying like, said to Caitlin Clark, like, you can't do that. And then you could just see Caitlin Clark going, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
So good. So good. Yeah, I mean, look, Caitlin Clark, especially coming back from injury, has been balling out. Like she had a incredible game, her first game back against the Liberty. She had that span where she made 3 threes, and not just like 3 threes, 3 like deep lol Caitlin Clark from Iowa threes.
And she and Brianna Stewart were like having some fun. She
right.
was like talking a little smack, but like in a fun, playful way.
Yeah, like in a way that like Dana Taurasi and Sue Bird used to talk trash to each other. But yeah, like she's been playing awesome. It's cool to have her back playing. Her being injured, of course, stunk.
I know they played the Storm a couple nights ago. I don't know who won that game.
I believe we lost. Yeah, we lost 94-86. But the Storm have had like a pretty good run. We're 9-6 right now. Like we're looking okay. We talked, we defeated the Lynx. That was pretty cool. So it's been a really fun season so far. Paige Beckers has been like putting up huge numbers, but the Wings are not particularly good, which is kind of what we've been expecting.
Sure.
But there's definitely been a lot of fun things, and a really fun thing in the league has been that the Golden State Valkyries, the new team, they're actually good. Like they're an expansion league team, and everyone just thought, all right, they're going to be bad. It's, an expansion league. The teams are always rough, but like right now they're 7-7. They defeated the Aces. They defeated, they've beat a couple of like solid teams lately. I think they beat the Fever. Like, it's
I wonder what their home versus away record is. I'm sure you could look it up. But I think just having the fan base that they do that's come out has probably helped them win a couple games.
They are 5-3 at home and 2-4 away. So clearly being at home in what they call, did you hear what they're calling where the Valkyries play?
I think so, but remind me.
They're calling it Ballhalla instead of Valhalla. It's Ballhalla.
Incredible.
Like with that enough, it's like, should I start rooting for the Golden State Valkyries? But yeah, like I've watched a couple of their games. Like it sounds loud as hell in the Chase Center, like louder than it does at some Warrior games, which is really cool. And it's the same arena. So that's awesome. That's cool. It's fun to see a team come on the scene and like really push back against expectations. There's players that have proven themselves. Like effectively every player on this team that was part of the expansion draft thing was doubted by their team, because in an expansion draft, you get to protect certain players. So everyone that they got from the expansion draft, their team was like, nah, if we lose them, what's the bigger deal? And you just put a bunch of people who've been scorned together on the same team, and their fueling of the spite towards the rest of the league has made them really good. And it's fun.
Right.
I'm really glad they're good. And it's just cool that a new team can come and you have a new fan base and you're immediately good. It's like when the Vegas Golden Knights in hockey were like good immediately. That's just a great way to get a fan base supercharged. And it's not just like, oh yeah, if you live in Oakland or the Bay Area, it's not just like, oh yeah, we have a new team. It's like, oh yeah, we have a new team and they're really good. Let's go to a game. It's awesome.
Yeah, love it.
Drama draft time, yeah?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go through our picks from the drama draft. We'll do it in order, and then we will see basically, can we get an initial read of who had the more dramatic team? And if it doesn't seem like we've got a clear-cut winner, we'll kind of go through team by team and say who of the two of us we think had the more dramatic team. So first pick, you had the Los Angeles Lakers. Not particularly dramatic.
Yeah, I think obviously there's always some amount of drama when they underperform in the playoffs. Like they got to the playoffs, but then they lost immediately. So like that has some drama. There was some drama involving like Bronny sucks. Why are we playing this guy ever? And obviously they were involved in the most dramatic trade of the year, which is the Luka Doncic trade, but they came out on the good end of it. So like from that perspective, if there was drama, I don't think it's drama that affected them in any way. So I would say I ranked them first. They were probably at worst, like close to the middle of the pack, if not like bottom 15. So I think that I'm going to call that a bad first pick.
Now, my first pick, the Denver Nuggets, actually did turn out to be pretty good. They fired their coach with 8 days left in the season.
Yeah, that's a tough one because just the firing of their coach mid-season right before the playoffs inherently means that there was drama going on. But ultimately, they played really well. Like they had a pretty good season, regular season wise. In the playoffs, they pushed the eventual champion Thunder to 7 games in the second round after beating the Clippers. So like ultimately, I don't think there ended up being a whole lot of drama as far as the team was concerned and like how far they got. But I think anytime you're firing a head coach and the coach who led you to a NBA Finals win a few years ago, I think your first pick was certainly better than my first pick. I will say that.
I think winning solves everything. And if they did poorly in the playoffs, this would have been laughed at as a move. But I still think firing your coach and GM with 8 games left in the season before the NBA draft is enough to say like you're a top half dramatic team. Maybe not number 1 on my roster, but like top half dramatic, I would say. Yeah. Alrighty. Now your next pick certainly had drama, the Philadelphia 76ers.
That's a good pick. They were horrible. and Embiid was pretty much didn't play. I mean, I feel like he was in and out most of the season. Their only bright spot, Jared McCain, got injured. So whatever like good vibes they had from that were squandered. Yeah, I mean, I think if this was a year where you came in thinking that the Sixers were going to be certainly a playoff team and probably a contender, to go from that to being as horrible as they were, I'm going to call that a good pick for me.
Yeah. The Paul George stuff, he had to shut down his podcast. Like Podcast P had to just become P. So like, yeah, I think for sure, highly dramatic team. Good pick there.
Yeah.
Now, I had the New Orleans Pelicans, also, I think, a highly dramatic thing. There was Zion stuff, like even some Zion stuff, just like bad vibes with the team. Then Zion stuff, like there's a whole like he got sued by an ex-girlfriend in like a civil court case. Like we don't even need to get into the messiness of that. There was weird stuff going around with the DeJounte Murray situation. They traded for him, then he got injured, then he came back, then he wasn't happy, then it seemed to be okay. They played horribly. Everybody was hurt. They just did this weird thing in the draft where they traded away next year's pick. Bill Simmons has called it one of the top 5 worst trades of the decade. Like,
wow.
They also were in part of a trade. They traded CJ McCollum in like this weird like Jordan Poole trade.
Yes.
They did the Brandon Ingram trade where they traded him away to the Raptors, and it didn't seem like that was a super solid return of stuff that they got back.
Yeah.
So
honestly, both of our number 2 picks were kind of similar. Like I think the Sixers and Pelicans were seen as playoff teams coming into this year, and then it was just complete chaos and crap play from both of them.
So I would say another solid pick. Your next pick, you had the Milwaukee Bucks.
Where do we put that? I don't know that they were like that high up.
No,
but
they weren't dramatic.
They
just
good.
They were disappointing, but not dramatic. And it wasn't like too surprising that they weren't good because the first year of Giannis Dame wasn't particularly good. So like they were fine and Giannis played well. Nothing weird happened with like Coach Doc Rivers or anything. So like I don't think they were particularly dramatic.
And I think that's probably why I had them as high as I did, was like it didn't seem like the Dame Giannis dynamic was working, and Doc Rivers just always seems to have like drama surrounding him, or he'll like get fired and then hired by someone else in the middle of the season. So I'm going to put that one as like not an egregiously bad pick, but like I would say not a good pick.
I would agree. I think that's a valid assessment. So then I picked the Minnesota Timberwolves, who in the beginning of the season were very dramatic. There was the Julius Randle piece not fitting. Dante DiVincenzo was playing poorly. There was a lot of rumblings about like the play style and all of that. Then throughout most of the year, they played very, very well. And then winning solved everything there. There wasn't as much drama as you thought there would be with the ownership situation, like the A-Rod and Mark Lore thing. Like that ended up glossing over mostly just fine. But then the playoffs did end with like disappointment. Anthony Edwards had the weird comments where like he didn't shoot as much, and he was saying, you know, kind of like when Harden after that one series was like the ball never found its way to me with the Sixers. So I would say they weren't like super dramatic, but they did kind of have like a drama. It was like a non-dramatic sandwich with drama bread. Like the beginning and the end was dramatic, but the middle, most of it wasn't. So I would say they were probably middle of the pack. I would have them in that like 15-ish range, because there wasn't like that much of it. It just started and ended with some drama.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right. Your next pick. You had the Clippers. Honestly, they were incredible. Like they surprised everybody.
They lost in the first round in easily the best first round series. It was a 7-game series against the Nuggets. But yeah, vibes seemed good at the Intuit Dome. Yeah. Everybody was happy. So I'm going to call that a bad pick. I genuinely can't think of drama involving the Clippers this year.
No, they're good. And then similarly, I picked the Houston Rockets. Not really. There was drama like early on, like almost in the offseason, because they did the thing where they signed the extensions for Şengün and Jalen Green, and Şengün's was big and Jalen Green's was not as big. And then it was the whole like, is he going to be upset about this? Are they going to try to trade him? But like, again, I think winning solves everything. Very similar to the Clippers.
Why do you think you had them that high? Do you remember?
It was because they had to like make a lot of decisions with contract stuff. I was thinking that one of these two extensions would have got drawn out into the season, and it would have been like an angry type thing. But they signed both of those extensions like 2 days after we recorded.
Oh, okay.
And I just...
So you probably would not have had them that high if we recorded after that.
Yeah. Exactly. I thought it was like looming contract stuff. I just thought one of those two would get drawn out into the year, and then you might have someone making like snide comments about the front office. But no, I really don't think too dramatic. And then also like they had Dylan Brooks on the team, so like there's always a chance. But no, I don't think they were too dramatic. So I think our picks are kind of like mirroring each other quite well. Maybe just so far, like I have the slight edge in that the Nuggets had some more drama than the Lakers, but everything else we've kind of gone like 1 for 1.
Yeah.
Your next pick was my beloved New York Knicks.
I don't know that there was that much drama. I mean, I think obviously when you look at how the season ended, I don't even know if calling it drama is fair, but like the whole game 1 thing is like, it's more just feeling like you were right there. And funny enough, I guess the main drama is that like Tibbs got fired, but I don't know if we're counting things that happened after this season.
I think we can count stuff like before. I think everything up till this, like, I think this draft is like, that's next season. So I feel like anything, and maybe even considering the draft, but like, I think it's valid. I think there would be the drama there, but like, even that, like, it made sense. It was just more surprising. Like not like spicy. And I think there would have been more drama with the Knicks if McAlbert just didn't have those 2 awesome games against the Celtics, because the drama would have been like the whole year was like, we gave up all these picks for this guy and then he was awesome.
Oh, yeah, it was like, like won them a couple games single-handedly,
which won us the series. So I think you got the only thing would be the Tibbs drama at the end, but like
I think they were, I mean, if I had to re-pick them rather than have them at like 10th or whatever, I'd probably have them at like 20th or 20-something.
I think that's valid.
Lower third for sure.
Yeah. So mine, this pick alone might give me the crown this year. I had the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, does it
But not for the right reasons, but you had them.
It's not the journey, it's the destination.
I assume you picked them there because of Kyrie's existence. Unless there's any other.
It was Kyrie, and it was just like, it was Luka. It was, we got to the finals last year. What if we don't do it this year? And it was like the high expectations, grumbly bits. And you just have guys like Kidd and Kyrie and Luka. There's always something. I never in a million years would have predicted this, but like,
no, nobody could.
This trade stopped the world. Like,
it did.
It was like made into SNL skits. Like, this is a huge freaking thing. People were chanting Fire Nico at the draft last night. So the perfect pick, like potentially more drama with them than every other team combined.
I mean, if we were to re-pick, like if we were doing this in a way where we said like, all right, let's pick the 1 through 30 again. They are the clear number 1 and it's not even close. Not even close.
If you're doing an auction style fantasy draft where you have like set money, you blow all your money on them and then you do the $1 picks for everybody else. So I feel great
at this point,
about this.
unless the back half of my picks are so immaculate. I think it's going to be tough to make up this deficit, but let's see. Let's keep it going. Next pick?
You had the Phoenix Suns, who had their fair share of drama. That's a very good pick because they had lots of different drama. Like, it wasn't just them being bad. It was a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it was the perpetual KD doesn't want to be here drama. It was the Bradley Beal's contract is an albatross and we can't get out from underneath it drama. What else was going on?
There was an allegation that one of the people in the front office had a relationship with aforementioned Sophie Cunningham, aka MAGA Barbie. So, there's some mess in Phoenix. There's Matt Ishbia doing his like bad, like not a good owner situation. Isaiah Thomas is like more officially part of the front office now. Like,
and most importantly, this was supposed to be part of their like quote unquote championship window, and they didn't even make the playoffs.
They didn't even make the play in.
So I'm going to give myself high marks on that one.
Yes, this is a very, very good pick. Very, very good pick. My next one was the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't think a very good pick. I thought that they might have, I mean, I think it's similar to the Knicks where like they were disappointing. People thought that they were going to do better in the playoffs. No one expected them to be this good in the regular season. And then when they were, people were like, all right, they should show it in the playoffs. And they were just like a wet fart against the Pacers. And I think there might be...
But the Pacers were really good.
They were really good. They were really good. But the Cavs just didn't play well.
They lost in 5, right?
Yeah. So I don't think a lot of drama. I think the drama might be a ripple effect, like if they trade someone this offseason. But I think we are past the point of it counting as this season. So not my strongest pick, I would say.
Yeah.
Then you had the Golden State Warriors, who... I wouldn't have said was too dramatic either, because Steph just played out of his freaking mind. And Draymond didn't do anything too Draymond-y?
Yeah, I mean, there was the... I'm trying to think if there were. I feel like there was like one Draymond incident this year, but that's not bad for for Draymond.
That's great.
There was something that led to what we kept talking about, which was Steve Kerr being like, "Oh, you shouldn't like criticize him. He's a dad.
He's a father."
I think it was just because people were chanting like "fuck you, Draymond" or something like that.
Yeah, which is completely warranted. So
unless they were saying "fuck you, Draymond's kids," which would not be warranted.
Very different.
But yeah, I would say not wildly dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say, what and which number pick was that? I guess would that be like we're in like the teens?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That was your 7th pick, so it would be what, like 14ish?
14th overall. Yeah. I would say not egregious, but like they should definitely have been lower. I would say lower third probably.
Yeah. Then I had the Memphis Grizzlies, who I think there wasn't any big like Ja Morant, oh my gosh drama, but like they did also fire their coach with like until the Nuggets did theirs with like 8 games left in the season or 8 days left, whatever it was. When the Grizzlies fired their coach with only like 2 weeks left in the season, that was like, whoa, what the hell? Especially because Taylor Jenkins is like a pretty highly regarded coach. And they had like the weird thing of like they had brought in other assistant coaches and they forced the coaching staff to like adopt this new play style, which Ja Morant didn't like and the coach didn't want to do. And then they fired him. And like, I think that they were disappointing play wise. Ja Morant didn't play a lot, which wasn't great. And then they fired that coach. So I think like, I would say they were in the top half. They weren't like super dramatic, but I think the shocking coach firing enough was pretty dramatic. And then they somehow got outdid by the Nuggets.
Right.
So then your next pick was the Miami Heat, who Jimmy Butler saga was pretty spicy. That was pretty
points
spicy.
On that one for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, because there was a period of time where he got suspended because he just didn't want to play and was speaking negatively about the team publicly. He ultimately did get traded. They ultimately, did they get through the play-in? I'm trying to remember. I know they beat the Bulls again, of course. I can't even remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think they got to the first round and then just got completely smoked by the Celtics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But just Jimmy Butler wise, a huge amount of drama. So I would say very good pick. Arguably should have been higher.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. My next one was the Boston Celtics, who I don't know if there's too much drama. I think like the loss to the Knicks, I think verged past disappointment and into like genuine concern. Obviously, it's got like a slightly different ending because of Tatum getting hurt, but I think people recognize that they probably would have lost that series anyway. I think that was such a crushing defeat for them, especially not just losing to the Knicks, but like losing to the Knicks in like a very embarrassing way with like being up by 16 halfway through the third quarter, being up by 20 halfway through the third quarter. Like, I think those losses were bad enough that there was a lot of like, what the hell is going on? Is Jason Tatum not fit for this?
Right. Because all of that happened before he was injured. Like those collapses were when he was still playing. So
yeah. So I think those, unlike the Bucks losing or the Knicks losing, like the Celtics losing did have a lot of like, what the hell is going on in Boston drama to it.
Well, and when you just won the championship, like
exactly,
the expectations are as high as they can be.
Yeah. So not like a lot of drama, but like very sharp, intense drama. Then it did shift once Tatum got hurt, but like I still think they were a dramatic team.
Right. And we have now turned the corner into the second half of our picks, which is to say that if the team was not dramatic, that's good because we got it right.
Yeah. I wonder how we should assess these going forward. Maybe the next year we do it like we're still trying to like glimmer of hope pick anyone who could be dramatic. And then we like just get points, you know, at the end. It's like if you're picking like a late second round pick and it turns into Jokic, like I feel like our approach next year should be like, we're really just trying to put together the most dramatic team and hoping these late picks like hit, which I think is still what we're doing. Yeah. But like, yes. So anyway, your next pick was the Detroit Pistons. I don't think there was any drama at all. They were great.
No, they had a great year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can kind of keep these moving. I had the Raptors. There was not too much drama. They just like basically tanked. They sagged for Flagg. They poopered for Cooper. Didn't work out. They just like put terrible basketball on the court, and I think they were largely ignored. They made the Brandon Ingram trade okay, but like I don't think there's
speaking of the Raptors and them sucking. There was a clip last night that was going viral of, I don't remember his name, but the guy who got drafted for the Raptors. Like you could just see him being like, "Fuck." Mm-hmm. Now there are some people who are like, that doesn't necessarily mean he didn't want to play for the Raptors. It might mean like, "Oh fuck," like finally I got drafted. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So. I'm sure he has already said like, "Hey, I can't wait to go to Toronto."
Right.
But
Levine
perhaps he was
did the
thinking
same
of
thing.
the strength of the Canadian dollar or lack thereof.
Zach LaVine did the same thing when he was drafted by the Timberwolves, and he later said that it was just like a sigh of relief thing. This guy shaking his head no before saying it doesn't help. But we'll see. All right. So then your next pick was the Atlanta Hawks, which I do think had a little more drama.
Yeah. But now that I'm thinking of it, like, I'm having trouble pinpointing like what exactly it was. They're just kind of always a little disappointing because they never really get over the hump.
I think the big thing it's more of like future drama because there were just rumblings of like, should they trade Trae Young? You know, what's their direction? Mm-hmm. They had Dyson Daniels be so good for them that it kind of ate away from the drama because he was so good, and like Jalen Johnson was hurt for a good chunk of the year, so a lot of their bad play could have been blamed on that. But yeah, I think it's mainly just the like, what do we do with Trae? But it didn't actually materialize. So maybe not super duper dramatic.
Yeah.
Then I had the Sacramento Kings, and I do think there was drama there because they fired their coach, right? Didn't they fire Mike Brown with like not telling anyone like right before a team flight? So like that sucked. And then
they also traded for Zach LaVine, and it like still didn't do anything for them.
Yeah, they did the De'Aaron Fox trade, and they brought in, LaVine and DeRozan. I think the Kings like really cemented themselves as like, oh, we're the old Kings again. Like we had the run where we were like weirdly competent, the Light the Beam Kings, and now it's like, oh no, we suck again. The water boy thing. So like, I do think they were pretty dramatic, especially like the firing of the coach. And I remember like every coach in the league was like, this is horrible. This is malpractice. Like,
yeah, because wasn't it a thing where like he was about to board the team flight and someone had to like tap him on the shoulder and be like, hey, don't get on there.
He did a press conference, like a media availability, and then they were supposed to get on the flight. And I think like in between those two things, he was informed that he was fired.
Yeah. The Chicago Bears, who are known for being incompetent, sad football reference, did the exact same thing. They like paraded out their coach to like take all this heat in a media session and then announce like, yeah, I've been told I'm the coach. And then like an hour later, he's like, not the coach anymore.
Wow. Wild. Well, yep. I think a late round, good, successful pick for me with the Kings. Your next pick then was the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean,
no known drama.
68 wins will squash any potential drama.
Yeah, and that was without Chet for half the season.
Right. And without Hartenstein for like the first 20 games. I had the Nets. They were just so bad that there was no drama. So bad and boring, nothing happens.
How did their 5 first-round picks go yesterday?
Apparently, from the reports that I've seen, it's all like long-term, like home run swing projects, which like, yeah, if you have 5 first-round picks, do it. Because like hopefully one of them is Giannis. So like,
right, exactly.
I think it's valid. But yeah, no drama. You had the Bulls. You've got a good read on this. Dramatic?
Not as much as I thought. Probably. Frankly, I'm surprised that you didn't pick them sooner.
I just thought it was going to be they're so bad, they're boring kind of thing.
Yeah, it was the drama surrounding the Bulls is really just frustration from the fan base of like, why are we always a play-in team?
Yeah. Which you were again, but I don't think it was your fault. I think the rest of the East was just so bad that you like accidentally did it.
Yeah, and funny enough, I think the Bulls actually went on this nice little run, and the signature moment of the year was Josh Giddey hitting a running buzzer beater 3-pointer from half court against the Lakers, which, as it turns out, arguably cost them Cooper Flagg. They were because they were a coin flip with the Mavs, and if they were like one game worse, theoretically, the pick would have been theirs. So that's just how it goes in Chicago. But yeah, drama wise, like, I think the main drama as someone who like follows them intimately is they're just mediocre forever. People don't like ownership. And Patrick Williams has just not panned out. He's gone from people thinking he was going to be like the next Kawhi Leonard to just being like, yeah, is he even like worth having on this team, period?
Tough.
But they had some positive moments. They had a nice little streak there. They had Matas Buzelis really coming into his own and like looking like he's got star potential, which is probably the first player we've been able to say that about in 5 years. So, it was like fine.
Yep. So then I had the Indiana Pacers, who I don't think had any drama, really. The only thing you could maybe say was like all of the hullabaloo around Tyrese Halliburton being voted the most overrated player and people making a big stink. But then he played so well that it just became like a meme. So I think
they
not
played
dramatic.
so well that I will now forever remember the difference between Andrew Nemhard and Aaron Nesmith.
That's how you do it. Two people with the same name. Also, that take of mine, I've said to like everyone I've watched a finals game with, and everyone agrees with me that it is the same name, and they're both like, oh, Andrew Nemhard. So like, I feel great about that. Another thing real quick with the Pacers though, it's wild that like they did not win the title, but everyone will remember this playoff year as like their year. Like everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, the year the Pacers almost won. Like that's, especially if the Thunder win more than one championship, like it'll just wash away. And this will be like, oh yeah, remember the Pacers almost won, but Tyrese got hurt in game 7. It's weird. Super weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a magical run.
It was great. Now you had the Hornets. Anything? The Mark Williams trade, I guess. The Lakers Mark Williams trade
happened.
Yeah.
There's some drama there. Yeah, the Hornets have a big man who they had agreed on a trade to the Lakers when the Lakers gave up Anthony Davis for Luka. And the Lakers really needed some size. And then the trade involved Dalton Connect and a couple other pieces. But then that trade was, I guess, voided based on his physical. The Lakers saw something in his physical results where they're like, we don't want that guy.
No, we don't want him.
And then he ended up having a good second half of the year, which the Lakers very much could have used.
And now he was traded this offseason to the Suns. So
I missed it. I didn't know that happened.
Not surprised that he wasn't going to stick around, because weird to be like, we don't want you anymore. Welcome back, Mark. We love you and we always have.
Sure.
As we
furiously... not a lot of drama. Unfortunately, the Hornets, a lot of their drama in recent years has been like legal issues off the court related. I don't think there was any of that this year that I'm aware of.
No.
And then was LaMelo like hurt a lot again this year?
Probably. Like,
it's
kind of been his thing. But yeah, nothing too dramatic with them. Just a little blip there. I had the Spurs. No real drama. I mean, Wemby had the injury, which sucked, but I don't think that any like true drama came of it. I don't think you want to call the Coach Pop situation drama. Like, it was just an unfortunate situation with his stroke and his stepping down as coach. So I don't really think any drama in San Antonio.
They're going to be so good next year.
Oh my gosh. The funny thing is, like, because they got that number 2 pick and they drafted, I forget the guy's name, but he's the good point guard out of Rutgers.
Dylan Harper. Ron Harper's son.
Oh, wow. Okay. He makes them trading for De'Aaron Fox like, they certainly would not have done that trade if they knew they were going to get him, because now you have Stephon Castle, who won Rookie of the Year, and then De'Aaron Fox, and then Dylan Harper. Like, kind of feels like they want to be like, could we give you guys
and
De'Aaron
Chris
Fox?
Paul is still there, is he not?
He is. I don't know if he's going to play. He might just be like James Johnson on the Pacers, which is like end of the bench vet presence thing. I don't think he's going to be getting minutes. But I don't think any drama there. So then you had the Orlando Magic.
No drama that I can think of. They had a fine season.
Yeah. I had the Blazers. No drama that I can think of. They were just bad, and people expected them to be bad. Then you had the Wizards. I don't think any drama. Bad. People expected them to be bad.
Right.
Yeah. And then I had the Jazz, which like a little bit of drama in that they... I think they like got fined a couple of times by the NBA for like being too obvious with their tanking, like sitting Lauri Markkanen too often and making up injuries and stuff. And then they did hire Austin Ainge, Danny Ainge's son, and then he had this whole thing of like, we're not tanking anymore. But I don't think enough to call them like a top dramatic team, but not last pick worthy.
Yeah, if you play fantasy basketball, don't draft Jazz players because you have no idea if they're going to play or not.
Yeah, now maybe because with this new guy in, and especially maybe Ace Bailey's going to get all the minutes.
Ace Bailey, yeah.
So I don't think last pick worthy, but I wouldn't say super duper dramatic. Okay, final litigation. I feel like it was pretty close. I do think it was close.
I think it was very, very close. I think I might have even gotten more of the kind of like the fringe ones right, but I think just whoever had the Mavs, that's the trump card.
Yeah.
So I think we both had some great picks. We both had some not so great picks, but I think I have to give the edge to you. Just by virtue of having the Mavs.
I think it was basically, it was like a series that went to 7, and I had home court advantage, and the Mavs like eked it out. It's funny. You were like a team with a really deep roster of a lot of solid dramatic picks, and then I just had like a couple that hit really well, and then enough contributing players to push it over the line. But I think a very good, very close drama draft.
Yeah, I give you the edge based on the Mavs and the fact that the Nuggets had more drama than the Lakers, which I never would have anticipated coming into this year.
Wild stuff. Well, thank you, everyone, for being a part of this drama draft relitigation. And now we'll just have to see when the WNBA season completes how our and Jordan's WNBA version went. But that has been the 2025 NBA Drama Draft Revisited. Thanks for listening to this episode of Horror Sources, hosted by Adam Amawala and Mike Schubert. Our editors, Kenzie Suramaki. The music is by Bettina Kampamanis. The art's by Alison Wakeman. The website's by Kelly Schubert. And the social media is by both of the Horse Boys.
Thank you to our producer-level patrons, Polly Burge, Salvatore Testa, Siobhan Ellsbury, Don't Go Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, Denver Steam Nuggets, Anna Reed, Steph Curry for his first 3.
Oh, bang. Because he's a little tiny baby.
Oh, young, yes. He does look like a child in those little videos. Chase Underulo, Naked Rachel, Sidney Crosby is a vampire, Chelsea's cousin, Ginger Spurs Boy, Balls to the Walls, Mats Furli, and Utah Jash. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Horse Hoops and on Twitter at Horse_Hoops because
Horse Hoops was run by the people who hit Caitlin Clark in the eye for no good reason. Yeah, it was actually
it's part of a bigger. This one goes all the way to the top.
JC was running the account, not having it. JC.
Wow. All right. Well, you can go to good transition. You can go to our website, Horse Hoops, for links to many of the things we talked about today, including that footage of the Fever game getting pretty spicy and Isaiah Hartenstein not knowing how to support an infant's head.
And if you want to support the Horse Boys, you can go to patreon.com/horsehoops. Hold our head up by joining the Patreon, and you can get access to a whole bunch of bonus content, such as the videos that we did after every single finals game, like 20-ish minutes of chatter of video stuff, so you can see our beautiful faces as well. And then you can also go to horsehoops.com/merch, where you can get Sub Nerds It's Basketball shirts, as well as digital items, ringtones, wallpapers, all that kind of stuff. But we're going to conclude this episode by putting our hands in the middle and saying something on the count of 3. Do we want to commemorate the end of the NBA season? Do we want to look forward to what lies ahead with the WNBA? How are we feeling?
Yeah, I think something to commemorate the NBA season would be good. I don't necessarily care about congratulating the Thunder. I feel like we've already done that. So you know what? I'm going to be the bigger man, and I'm going to give you a rhyme that you're going to like. Knicks in 26.
I love it. Thank you very much. I would love that, and I would appreciate that. Let's put some good vibes out there. So Knicks in 26 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Knicks in 26. I think they've got as good a chance as anybody to at least get out of the East. Will they lose the Thunder in 5 games? Maybe, but I think they could get to the final.
The window is open, and it's only open for this season. So let's capitalize, baby.
Let's do it.